somebody's, not mine. This is not yours either, is it, Beverly? No. It has black. Yeah, just let it there. Okay, now roll over. Where's that sword? Always leave the sword behind. Okay, let's look at page 13. The Normans have been transplanted to Normandy. So former Vikings, seafaring, raiders, marauders. They're staying put, they're settling down. That's going to be crucial, by the way, that kind of thing, for what is becoming the High Middle Ages, we'll talk about in just a minute. Because you've got to settle these German tribes down. You're not going to be able to advance very far down the road, make any real progress, if, the next thing you know, there's some Germanic tribe come in and tear everything up you've done. So you've got to settle these guys down, and this is just simply one example of it. As I said, they marry the local French women, learn the French language, they're staying put. They become great horsemen. As great as they were at sea, they're going to be great on horseback. And some of these guys become, kind of progenitors for the early knights, ultimately. Now we're talking about knights. Knights are going to be around for hundreds of years. They still are. People are still knighted today. Anybody been knighted, by the way? I'm going to guess you'll be the one who will be someday. Usually we think of knights in terms of what? Plate armor, the big suits of armor, and things like that. That's much later than where we are here. These guys are starting out with things more like what you have up here. The chainmail, which was, by the way, locally made. I'm serious. You got a couple of guys who go to church. Some of you know the Tandy family. Okay, well, Glenn and Robert Tandy, back when they were students here, probably in high school too, because they're just those kinds of guys, thought making chainmail would be cool. So they made chainmail. So there you are. I called Glenn the other day and said, we're going to do this thing on campus, blah, blah, blah. I said, you still have your old chainmail? He said, oh, yeah, we had that out just the other day. Well, of course you did. You're the Tandy. But anyway. In fact, I'm going to guess that these larger holes here, there are probably wounds on their body that matches those holes. That's what I'm going to guess. But anyway. Look, this is just not a poor man's way of doing this compared to plate armor, because this is still expensive stuff. You're talking about thousands and thousands of rings done by a blacksmith. So it's not cheap stuff. Being a knight is not cheap, no matter whatever you're talking about. As I said the other day, you start out with pretty limited coverage. This is called the hauberk you see on the page. Usually it would be longer than this. It would go down to your knees or so and cover up a lot more. You'd wear some heavy boots, maybe something on those to protect your ankles. A limited helmet. Again, this is the Norman helmet. We're talking about these guys here on page 13. So it's just enough to cover the skull and then enough to cover your nose so you won't get that banged off by a sword. Swords come in all kinds of sizes. This guy's going to be later on. We'll talk about him in just a minute. Or later, anyway. All kinds of swords. These are all replicas. If you look closely at them, you'll see they're made in India. So anyway, they are what they are. But while I want to knight somebody here, hang on, we'll give that a second. The Norman knights here are going to be very crucial for what becomes the 1066 Battle of Hastings, invasion of England from France. You get Norman cavalry used there in 1066 as William. He will become known as William the Conqueror because he succeeds. Will invade at Hastings. You've got a really pitched battle there against Harold and the Saxons. Now remember, we say Saxons in England and the Normans, the Frankish kingdom or the Franks themselves, they all come from the same place, basically, especially if you're talking about the Normans and the Saxons. They're all Scandinavian. Now, I want to point out a couple things up here. This and this are part of the tapestry. Now, these are replicas, obviously. If I had the real thing, I wouldn't be here right now. These would be connected to a long tapestry that measured 230 feet long. It's not an actual tapestry because it's embroidered, not woven, but they call it a tapestry. It's called the Bayeux tapestry, B-A-Y-E-A-U-X, I think, or some variation of vowels in there between the B and an S. Okay? The Bayeux tapestry was made just a few years after the 1066 invasion in England, sometime in the 1070s. It is meant to chronicle the invasion and life at that time and those kinds of things. So you get some scenes from their world, folks at dinner here, navigation here, stuff at sea. I don't think those are soldiers, but anyway. And of course, some of these mythological griffins and things like that show up. Am I on here, by the way? Okay, so width-wise, it's about right. It's about a 20 or so inch wide tapestry. But again, most of the football field is length. So it is a great chronicle for what's happening here in 1066. Now, as that invasion succeeds, then obviously the Frankish kingdom is going to be going across the sea. What's developing here is going to be a new type of economic, political, military, social system that we call feudalism. Feudalism, you can break it down into parts. If you look at the economic part of feudalism, it's called manorialism. Basically, I don't think I referred to it here, but that's the term. And the whole deal here is, in a world in which it is about fat cats at the top and a lot of peons underneath, it's a two-class world. You have the aristocracy, the nobility at the top. Of course, you've got a king above that, and he's nobility too. So you have the nobility at the top, the people who are the big landowners, right, big estates, and then you've got all these other people, I mean 90% of the rest of the population. Those are going to be the peasants, or serfs, or both. Every serf is a peasant, but not every peasant is a serf. Okay? Serf means you're bound to someone by contract. Your family is bound by contract. You can't leave. Once that contract's been made, your family is stuck there. Now, you can look at it the other way and say, well, we have security, we've got a place and a hovel to live in, and we've got a job and those kinds of things. But it is just simply this short of slavery. Now, slavery exists here, so we can't call it slavery. And I guess if I had a choice between a servant and a slave, I'd say, well, I'll be a knight, thanks. But anyway, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd say I'd be a priest. I don't know. Now look, what's this all about? This is where the knights come in. Let's do one. Let's make one here. There's a variety of ways that we do it. We all know from the movies and stuff kind of what we think happened, right? The accolade on the shoulders, that kind of stuff. They're going to do that. Now, I need a volunteer. Well, come on up. Thank you for volunteering. That's why you're married her. Here's the tricky part. You have to go down on your knees. Well, actually, the tricky part probably is getting up front of that, no one needs it anyway. So down we go. That was pretty good. Okay, there's different ways that they did that. Depends on what time period we're talking about. Early on, it might be a matter of exchanging vows and stuff, because we're exchanging promises to each other. I'm the Lord, obviously. You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy who is trained for a long time. I got the sword again. He's trained for a long, long time to become a knight. This isn't something you do overnight. There's an old Carolingian proverb that said, you can take a lad in his early teens and make a knight of him, but later, never. You got to get in this young, because this is watching, it's training, it's apprenticing. It's seeing how the knight functions. It's taking responsibility for his stuff. You polish the sword. You make sure all the leather on the horse is in good shape and those kinds of things. You may be a courier between the knight and some lady in waiting somewhere. And, you know, here's another message. All this kind of stuff. But you're growing up doing these things. And eventually you reach a point with enough training. And when I say training, of course that means military training. It means with the weapons. But also remember too, when we talk about a knight, this guy has to ride around on horseback into a battle. And that's not something that you can just do tomorrow with your horse. You've got to train the horse for this kind of stuff. And that takes a while. We use the term chivalry. Where does that come from? A chevalier. What's a chevalier? It's a guy on horseback. So this is complicated business. I'm sorry to keep you down here for so long. But anyway, now, early on, one version is we could exchange vows, and then when we finish up, I'd slap you on the back real hard, which I'm not going to do. But anyway, we do it that way. Now, eventually it becomes this kind of thing, where I've got the sword. Oh, by the way, you need to do this to me, because I'm your Lord. And, of course, we do the accolade on the shoulder. Then I would basically as the Lord. He has his hands out to me in homage to me as his Lord. I am his earthly Lord, and I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to put them over his. And then we're going to exchange vows. He's going to make a promise to me, and I'm going to make a promise to him. I promise him land, and he promises me what? Military service. For life. It's a contract. If the serfs are contracted, so are the knights. So we'll exchange our vows, and once we've done that, we will seal the deal with a kiss. Which we're not going to do. You're officially knighted. Thank you. Now this is a simple world of simple relationships, simple contractual duties. Two classes of folks. You got a question?
What kind of kiss is it?
It's a lip kiss.
Lip kiss.
It is.
Not the cheek.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that is kind of a, yeah. Yeah, it's a lip kiss. Now, by the way, some historians believe this gesture that you made to me, folding your hands in homage to me as your earthly Lord, is a gesture that the church folks will take over and turn that into an ecclesiastical gesture to the Lord. We think about kids at the bedside doing this kind of stuff. We don't do that in our worship of sex, but you know what I mean. And so that may be where that comes from.
In a semblance of a modern counterpart.
To what?
To nothing.
We would probably say a mercenary, but that denigrates the role. A mercenary. But that's not what a knight is. A knight isn't a gun for hire. I think knights sometimes become guns for hire. But that's not what they're intended to be. So I don't know if any, you may come up with a modern equivalent to what we're around here. It's a different kind of deal. I mean, you're bound to one guy. Just as the serfs are bound to one guy. And that's family to family.
About how many did the Lord have? How many knights?
That all depends. That all depends. You could have dozens. To have more than scores would be quite a few. If you're going to go on some big hoopla like a crusade, you probably would take all your knights in the first place. You've got to protect back home while you're gone. But you're also going to be banding together with other local lords. Remember, you are just a local lord over a chunk of property. Probably no bigger, and even smaller in many cases, to a typical American county. Didn't say this county, not Montana.
Yeah.
Not western Nebraska, where the counties are gigantic. So it's a limited piece of property, but nobody can match you other than the king. And of course, remember, if the serfs have to stay loyal to the Lord, and the knights loyal to the the baron or whoever, his obligation is to whom? To the king. The king's obligation is to God. To develop this divine right of king's approach, which is awfully convenient if you're king. Now, feudalism is going to be around, as it says, for hundreds of years. It is a organic, almost natural system that just keeps going for 300-400 years. Depends on who you are and where you are. Now, ultimately, when we look at this, again, this two-class system, it works for a long time. There are always outliers, though, because what about the churchmen? What about the monks? What about priests? Well, they're neither noble nor serf or peasant. So they don't really fit as such directly with the two-tier equation, two-tier class system. And, of course, there's always got to be somebody who is, what, is the blacksmith, or the guy who makes the shoes. I mean, there's always going to be towns. There may not be very many of them in some of these time periods. But there's got to be somebody, a town somewhere. And of course, those people are going to be a little, small, fledgling, slip of folks that will become eventually a much more viable, what? Middle class of people. And we'll see more of that probably in our second hour today, not this hour. Castles, on page 14, that makes sense? Okay. It's pretty colorful stuff. Again, there's a lot of stereotypes to this. The chivalry, well, that's fine. I don't know how much of that actually happened. This courtly love business, okay, I don't know how much of that is real. But that's somebody else's love line, not ours, so I guess we're that. So number 14, castles. Who's been in a castle? Where were you? Austria, Germany, Czechoslovakia, Scotland, England, yeah, I've been ones in England, yeah, I remember that bit. And here's,
Just remind them that we wrote that today.
we brought this today, if you want to take a look at some of this in more detail, historic Britain, so you can see some castles up close and personal. Okay. Castles are, they go through a process. There's not just immediate, let's just build a castle out of nothing. All of a sudden, there's a process of developing into the kind of buildings that we think of as the full-blown castles. It starts out pretty early here. We can go back to 1066 and even before, with things that are called motte and bailey. You see this below the picture on page 14. A motte would be a hillside, a high point. In most battles, you want the high ground, obviously. Make the enemy come up to you. It takes more people to come up to you than it would be on a local planet. 2 or 3 times of the number. Then a wooden fort constructed, then a wall surrounding it called a bailey. Motte and bailey. It's very limited stuff. If you remember Braveheart film, early on in that, you're seeing a motte and bailey. That's before he's the guy that we come to root for. Back when before. Now, how many of these things? Well, there's hundreds of them. Of course, they develop into large-scale, monster buildings, very expensive stuff. Tons and tons and tons of stone. This takes a lot of engineering. You don't just slap one of these things together. This takes a lot of engineering, a lot of design. It is, and there are a couple things I think that we need to make sure we're clear on. Look, a castle is a way of nailing down the perimeters of the land that you control as a king, right? You've got folks who don't want you, maybe you invaded, Edward Longshanks or something, invades Wales. Okay, the Welsh don't want him there. They're going to continue to be a hassle. Okay, how do you maintain your presence there? You nail down the land with a series of castles, 7 or 8 or whatever it was constructed. That way you have these fixed fortification sites that say, don't mess with us. Of course, inside you'd have the knights, and if there's a local problem, some sort of, you can come riding out and go take care of it, and then come back into secure your castle. So it's basically a way of saying, this is my land, I control it, don't monkey with me, I've got forces that you don't, I've got power that you don't. Now, the other part about castles is, remember, they're homes. Somebody lives there. This isn't just a fort, this is somebody's house. So in castles, you're going to have part of the structure here designed for the family of the Lord. Maybe extended family of the Lord. There'll be multiple families living there. So it's got to be bedrooms and meeting halls and kitchens and all kinds of things like that built into the stuff. Because they are fixed positions, it means, of course, that they are vulnerable. Right? Because it's just going to sit there. It's not going anywhere. You have an army come in, and then they do what? Well, they lay siege to it. They surround it. Now, a siege of a castle is not an easy gig. Because getting inside a castle, just the way they're designed, there are multiple barriers to you getting inside a castle. The walls are high. They're lined with archers. The knights here don't play much of a role in the castle, do they? Their job is to ride out and battle and fight and all that kind of stuff. You don't do that much in the castle. The guys you really need in the castle are who? The archers. The archers. Get these guys with a longbow, get up in these towers with these up in the crenellations, or the arrow slits in the walls. And they're designed usually so that you can fire from within at a wide angle. Just the way they're built. They actually built them in so the stone comes in with an opening here and a little slit in the wall. Yeah, so you can get a wide angle. And a longbow, if you get within 200 yards, 250 yards of that guy's position, you're dead. So you have to get back a bit. Now that matters because if you're on the outside, look, you lay siege and just wait them out. But you can also bring up a siege machine. One of these catapults, or a trebuchet, one of trebuchet is? Trebuchet is a little more complicated catapult. Basically, it's got a long throwing arm. You'd have a sling attached to it. It would have a big, usually stone ball of some sort. And then it's got a counterweight on it. Usually a box that's filled with rocks or something like that, or sand. And then as you cut the chain, it's going to release that arm. That counterweight is going to throw that arm over. So it's a throwing arm. And it will then throw that sling up, and it will sling that ball, 100, 200-pound ball, against the wall of that castle. You do that enough, it'll tear it up. Now, the tricky part is getting close enough with the trebuchet to hit the wall without some archer in the tower slapping an arrow through you. So this is, again, complicated stuff. This is very stylized kinds of things. The walls are 15 feet, 30 feet thick. Usually you have the stone mortar walls on both sides, and then it's just rubble filled in the middle. They don't just put a bunch of stone in there. I mean, why would you? It's kind of like the way they built the pyramids. They don't dress those inner stones very much, and they're just going to stick them in. But look, they work. They work on one level because a castle is a force multiplier. It doesn't take a lot of guys to defend a castle. It takes a significant number of guys to lay siege to a castle. You've got to cover all the roads. You've got to make sure you've got enough guys in case there actually is a fight. You've got to have enough archers and engineers and guys to dig in underneath. Look, some of these guys in these armies are just going to be tumblers. They're just going to be engineers. They're going to be guys, they're going to be miners, basically. Because one way you can bring down a castle is you judge the weak point in the wall or a tower that if it came down, it would reach the wall significantly. You send a group in to tunnel in, so again, a siege can go on for a long time. Tunnel in underneath the base of that tower, and then they start taking out stone. Now that's tricky stuff because, it's like eating prunes. When have you done one too many? That's probably a bad analogy, but you get my point. Usually they're going to pull out stones, and for sometimes pull out stones, they're going to shore that gap up. They're going to stick in beams or something to hold that up until they think they pulled out enough. And then they'll usually set fire to it and get out there as fast as they can, and hope that when that beam burns out, then the wall has been weakened enough to fall down. So there's another way too that they did this as far as breaching, getting inside the castle. These towers sometimes would have the latrines. It's an outhouse inside the building. So you get up in the tower, you've got a latrine deal, hole and all this. We can do your thing, and it goes down into the tower. Well, okay, that can filter down into the moat. You're ahead of me, aren't you? So you send some poor sucker in there to swim the moat, which is just a big latrine anyway. Yeah. You swim in there, find the hole, find the grate, take it off, climb up in that tower, and you get on the inside. Any volunteers? Any volunteers for that one? That's when you should have gone the night route.
That's where the mercenaries came in.
Yeah, that's where.
There were mercenaries that would hire themselves out to be the
Yeah.
breacher.
Jim, one
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
is sieges actually originated back in Roman times.
Oh, yeah, siege has been around for a long time. It's been go back to Bible times.
Jerusalem was subject to a siege.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing new about this. It's just the way they do it. They do it.
Makes me appreciate my
Talk about the high ground. All right, let's flip over to page 16. Anything else about that? There are dozens of variations of these things. There's no blueprint for them. There's no model here. There's a lot of different kinds of castles.
This may not be important, I've seen on TV, the castle, it's just absolutely read and learned that in the castle, they had no furniture. They would have huge, 100 rooms.
Yeah, she's talking about the amount of furniture in the castle. Not very much furniture. Didn't need much furniture. Even in, say, a great hall in a castle, it wouldn't be set up permanently with big tables and stuff. They usually bring in equivalent to boards and sawhorses and set them up, cover them with some cloth, okay? Big beds, yeah. I think one thing that we think about castles is they be cold and drafty. I'm sure parts of it were. But remember, when you've got walls as thick as these, the R factor in that is pretty extraordinary, pretty high. You get enough fires going, you could probably be fairly snug. Look, I think these folks in castles probably slept more snugly than folks did at Versailles. You know, Louis XIV of Versailles in the 1600s, because those walls are thin and they're not insulated. And, you know, Louis would sometimes wake up with, you know, bases of water by his bed. In the wintertime, he's frozen over. So, I think I'd rather stay. Yeah, and they covered walls with tapestries, sure.
When did the Ingle Nook as a piece of furniture come in?
I don't feel any obligation to know.
I see.
The Ingle Nook. Anybody want to date the Ingle Nook?
Well, it's the way that the bench kind of configuration around the fireplace was. It kind of had a little small place where you could walk into that, but it was just high back cushion.
Oh,
and
okay.
around
There's
the
another name I'm
fireplace.
thinking of, too. But I can't think of it. I know what
But
you're talking about. Yeah, I know what
that
you're
was
talking
kind of like the wintertime gathering place.
about. Yeah, it'd be a couch bench kind of
Yeah.
thing with a back to it, so the heat doesn't just go blast
Yeah.
past you. Yeah.
There's a lot of gout back then too.
Well, there's a lot of gout, skin diseases, and all kinds of stuff. Yes,
I
sir.
was wondering about the average length of time for a siege and food and water within.
Well, that's part of the problem. Yeah, a siege, you wouldn't have to launch a single stone or undermine a tower at all. You can stay up there long enough, and if you've got the resources, they're going to have to give up eventually. They're either going to have to give up, or they get rescued by somebody else from outside, because you're going to run out of food or water. Castles usually have well inside.
So what was the usual source of water in these castles?
Source of water?
Yeah.
Wells. Wells. You typically have a well inside a castle. Yeah, I mean, that's smart. But food, you're going to run out eventually. So, yeah, it's just a waiting game. Then it becomes just a chessboard, doesn't it?
Tim said what happened in Jerusalem, maybe 70% eventually was at 9, they just started.
Well, I think in AD 70, they're using siege machines and ramps and those kinds of things. Yeah, the Romans are great. The Romans are great engineers, so they use all kinds of siege machines and building up the ramps. It's like they did at Masada. Just build up ramps and then just grease the walls. So,
Seems like protection was high on the minds of everybody because everybody else wanted what you had.
well, yeah. You're at the top of the heap. You're obviously the king of the hill, literally. So yeah, you're the guy beaten. So in a world of limited resources, sure, let's take out that guy. There's only so much land. There's only so many people in charge. So make it move forward. Okay, let's flip. Yeah, I'm making you more. Let's flip over to 16. We're going to do 16, 17 here before we take a break. Maybe I'll say a little bit about the Crusades. I may have to just kind of breeze through the Crusades. But I want to look at the High Middle Ages. We're shifting here into the second era. We're about 1000 or so AD. We're moving into the High Middle Ages. This is when things start really going well for the Middle Ages. What happened? Well, it's hard to quantify. It's hard to detail specifically. Kenneth Clark, when I was a student here, Kenneth Clark is a British art historian. He had a series on BBC. It was called Civilization. Maybe it was late 60s. But anyway, there's a companion book. I got it. I was just a student here. In that book, I forget which chapter, it's early on, he has a chapter that's titled The Great Thaw. And it's a great analogy to what happens here as they slip into the High Middle Ages. He's going to describe what happens as it was like a Russian spring. This deep freeze where everything is just locked in and hard and cold and unrelenting. And then that season passes, and then it's spring. You get the thaw. There's warmth, there's difference, and there's a fertility to it. And it's just a whole other world. And what causes all of that, it's hard to say. I'm going to give you some reasons here on the page. But again, I think it may be hard to really detail for us exactly. What we're going to see here, about 1,000, is just a brilliant run. Goes on for 300 years. Now that may also address kind of the slow rhythm to this world. This is a natural world based on nature and the cycles of the seasons and fertility and farming. Those kind. There's a rhythm to that that just goes on, on, on. So we can have it. We just blasted through a 500-year era. Now we're blasted into another 300-year era. And there's change, but a lot of this is going to be similar as well. Now, what's going on? What's happening? Well, for one thing, Germanic tribes have finally settled down. Okay, well, that's a huge relief. Once those guys get settled down and landed and titled and shifted gears to something else, to realize that there's just not much money really in being in a motorcycle gang. So let's just settle this thing down. And civilized and Christianized and those kinds of things. So that's a big. Now, when you have less invasion, you have fewer fights and battles, and you have less war, and you have less death. So people, young men of fighting age, are going to survive. Well, I think automatically, doesn't that mean that these young men aren't dying in battle? They're probably going to be getting married and having kids, and these are their sexually active years. So we get a population increase here, rather than just limited numbers of folks that can hardly make it at all. So we get greater stability, we get less chaos, we get less invasion. Battles become very stylized kinds of things, limited field fights, castle sieges. You can have a siege of a castle, and when it's all over, maybe nobody even died. A lot of loss of life. Again, as it says, it doesn't take a lot of guys to defend a castle. There's enough guys in this room to defend a castle. So this isn't about wholesale battles and just a lot of bloodletting here. Again, the battles become kind of set pieces. It is your chess board in real life. It's about maneuver, shifting around. Sometimes it's more about diplomacy than it is fighting, too.
Tim,
Yes.
what was the average lifespan back?
Short. If you live to 40, congratulations. Yeah, this stays the
A
case.
lot of babies.
This stays the case. Yeah, infant mortality stays high. When we talked about the Romans 2 years ago, I talked about an 80% infant mortality rate. Yesterday I said in the dark ages, 80% infant mortality rate. So that doesn't shift off.
87.
80%. You got 5 children, 4 are going to die in infancy. But who do you complain to? So that matters. So population explosion. This won't seem like big numbers to us because we're used to kind of almost exponential population growth today. The population growth here that we're seeing, a doubling of population. In England, maybe a tripling of population. That's over several hundred years, but still growth of the population. We are seeing also something that's kind of hard to quantify, but we talk about global warming today. There's always been global warming. Cars and coal aside, there's always been global warming. Of course, now they call it climate change. You can't argue with that. Yeah, something's always changing. But anyway, we have a global warming pattern here, and it goes on for about a couple hundred years-ish or so. What that's going to mean, why that's important, is it's a long-term trend. And it means in northern reaches of Europe, all over Europe, but including in northern parts of Europe, it gets warmer. They can have a longer growing season. They can grow more food for a change. Why leave home and raid somebody else when you can now raise your own food at home? And cattle and those kinds of things. So that's a big, big deal. That's another reason why these folks have kind of settled down. Healthier people, they got more food, healthier people, they live longer, better lifestyle, if lifestyle is the right word to use. Look, this is the opportunity for the Vikings from yesterday to get to the New World. This global warming era means that, yeah, you can get out, you they were already in Iceland, but now you can go to Greenland and live. It wasn't really green until here. Then from there, again, you just keep skipping. Scandinavia to Iceland to Greenland to the New World, our view of the New World. And now they don't stay, right? Well, this is why they don't stay. Weather pattern shifts. Where they live in northern Canada becomes inhospitable once more. Well, they can't stay here. Greenland, you can't stay, they can't live there anymore. Well, they don't not only lose their colonies in the New World in Canada, they lose their colonies in Greenland as well. So this is an open window for a while and then it closes. Now it's an intriguing question to ask. What if the Vikings had stayed? Columbus who? we would need a Columbus. We would dump Columbus. But that's just a part of the game. In the meantime, again, as population is growing, feudal land holdings are going to be increasing. With more people, we're going to see no longer a manpower shortage. One reason why slavery was so predominant in the Dark Ages was you got to have folks to work. Part of that is because it was an easy commodity to trade, but anyway, trading human lives. What we're going to see here is a decline in slavery. We're going to see, because of there's not a manpower shortage. There's also another thing that's happening, or a series of things that's happening here, and that's with horses. They change how they work horses. Of course, that's going to change the human labor as well. If your horse becomes more productive in labor, you don't need to use slaves for that labor instead. And the things that are coming in here are just simply inventive adaptations. Things like the padded horse collar. This is huge stuff. Padded horse collar, the tandem harness, and the nailed horseshoe. Now that sounds like, oh hum, who cares, except the horse. Well, it does matter. Because again, the padded horse collar, what they're replacing here is the old Roman breastband on a horse, which meant it came around the horse's head, and then it cut across the chest here, and then down to this way. Well, what that meant was when the horse pulled, it's pulling against its own chest. The weight is here. Imagine doing that. And just pulling a dead weight behind you with strapped here to your chest. It's going to hurt. It's going to wear you out. The padded horse collar shifts the weight around the horse's neck. So it doesn't put that pressure on the horse. The horse can therefore pull more stuff and be more effective in terms of working. Okay, the tandem harness. And now you can attach horses together. Not just one horse pulling a cart, but 2 or 3 or 6 or 8 or however many, that can pull a much larger weight. Heavier weights, larger logs, bigger wagons, all these kinds of things. So again, you're replacing human labor. The nailed horseshoe is just a matter of the horse being able to just move on, not split hooves, and just be a more effective animal. What that's going to mean is ultimately is that a horse becomes cheaper to feed than feeding 4 slaves and can do more work then. So a decline in slavery in part comes about because of how they use the horse differently. So one thing impacts something else. Can you bring my glass of stuff back there?
Your glass of stuff?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. That flavored water vitamin stuff. I've not been blasting through my screen here, and I probably should. I'm probably doing something wrong. That's not amazing.
Is it turned
Hold
on?
that for me, thank you. Okay, let's do part 2 here. Part of what's happening here too is the new technologies are coming in. Now again, by our standards, it's kind of ho-hum, small frame sorts of things. But, oh, I have turned it on. I wish I knew how to do that. Well, I already covered all this. That's all. Well, yeah, just to get back to the front.
It's time to break anyway, McNeese.
No, it's not. Thank you. Thanks, Big Ben. I still have the time I lost from you to make up. Well, I'm pressing this button here on the right.
Where do you want it to go?
Do the next one, the next picture. But I want to be able to keep moving it past.
I don't know what you're pushing.
Well, I'm pressing that button, same one I pressed yesterday, unless my thumb is a different thumb.
Just push the center.
Well, we're not even to it yet, so that was worth it. All right. Part of this is about new technologies coming in. You can see the second paragraph, the heavy wheel plow. The old plow was just basically, we've been around for hundreds of years. It was a plow that barely had. Well, sometimes it would just have not a real blade, but just a shared, it would just be a stick, where you're just breaking the top soil. That's all you're doing. You're not really creating a furrow with it. And you would plow over a piece of property multiple times, crisscross it both directions, just breaking up the soil. And then you in your bag, you throw out your seed or broadcast the seed. Well, that's a pretty effective way to do it. What this will do is it will eliminate the need for cross plowing. You can make furrows and actually put stuff in rows for a change. It's a much more effective way to plant seed. Now, they also changed the field system here from a 2-part to a 3-part. Those should be even, but you get the point. The old way to do this was you had 50% production. You would have a grain crop you would plant in the spring and you'd harvest in the fall. Half of your land. And then the next season, obviously, you switch off. This becomes the grain production. This becomes this is the last fallow. Because you're not using any fertilizer except for just whatever the cows produce. That's it. Okay? So live fallow grain, wheat, barley, oats, rye, depends on where you are. Okay? Now, what they figured out by this time is we can do a 3-field system. You still have a third that lies fallow. What they figured out was you can plant a grain crop in the fall and it'll come up in the spring. Now you've got 2 seasons where you have grain. But you would also do veggies of some sort. So you've got a spring crop grain. Then you've got a winter crop, winter wheat. Then you've got another planting in the spring. A third of the field will be grain or peas or some sort of vegetables that you can grow in the season. So what you did here is 2/3 production rather than 50%. Same piece of ground, but more production. Now again, whoever figures this out first, who figured out? Hey, we can plant grain here, and it'll come up. We'll go through this sometime. So that's a big deal. So again, more food available. Other mechanization coming in here, wind-powered mills, grinding grain. Some of this is windmills, some of this is water mills, some of this they probably get from the Arabs when they go off on the Crusades. There's all kinds of stuff they get, they come back with from the Crusades. The invention of the crank, which sounds like, how big a deal could that possibly be? What the crank does is it shifts up and down and back and forth, or backward and forward motion to circular motion. You know how this works. If you have a well with a rope and a bucket in it, if you don't have the crank and a shaft for the rope to hang on and turn the crank, then you are pulling the dead weight up. Whatever that weighs, you have to carry that weight. You put that rope and bucket onto a shaft, you put that onto a crank, then you convert that into circular motion, and your little daughter can now raise the bucket up from the well where it would take somebody stronger to do that previously. That's a little thing, but it's one more thing. and you adapt it to other things as well. The spinning wheel gets invented, which increases cloth production. Of course, spinning wheels have been around for hundreds of years. It increases cloth, but not only increases cloth production, but it makes cloth cheaper. People can now afford more clothes, more things made out of cloth, not just clothes. For what you see here, or maybe you don't. I think you now can have sheets on your bed. Not everybody, but now you have sheets on the bed. Rather than piling into the bed with a bunch of furs on top of you, and you probably slept naked on top of that, by the way, because you didn't have bed clothes. You hardly had clothes at all, much less something to sleep in. Now, you can have towels, and sheets, and bed clothes, and a nightcap, and underwear. What an exciting world this has become. To now be able to wear underwear. There had to be some people who appreciated that more than anything else. Now look, the more everything touches something else. The more clothes, the more eventually the stuff wears out. Then you've got rags. Okay, what do you do with that? You're going to make that into material that's going to be the equivalent to paper. You can look at the top right-hand column. They're taking mostly linen, which comes from flax. They're going to process that into cheap paper. Now, it's not cheap paper like our cheap paper, which is wood pulp, which is really cheap paper. I mean, this is pretty durable stuff made out of linen. I mean, good paper for us is, part linen. But this means that you have material short of to write on, short of having to kill some poor sheep to get it developed. This means then that printed material becomes more available. Throw in the printing press, which we'll add later in the week. That's a huge innovation. Gigantic in terms of learning. Okay, I've got to stop here in just a second. There is also going to be mechanized clocks. Again, a world that runs naturally, natural rhythm, roosters crowing and stuff like that. Now you've got clocks. Usually big clocks in towns, not everybody's mantle and stuff, but still they're coming in. Buttons on your clothes instead of clasps or whatever. Gunpowder coming in, which has huge implications down the road. And then the revival of urban life. We'll say more about that when we come back from the break. Okay, I got to stop here. Real fast.
The reason for that, all these improvements, no wars.
Well, I wouldn't say that we can have these improvements because there's no wars singularly. But look, if you've got more, if you can focus on something other than, then yeah, I think that matters. Okay, we got to take a break. 10 after, come back to 10 after, and we'll let Terry crank up the 6 practice.